I learned more from my mistakes than I learned from anything else. I found out real quick that I'm not the person that needs to be answering the phone. I can put a door up. I can do all the stuff. I can talk to customers. I can be friends with everybody, but I was sitting down trying to get your taxes ready at the end of the week, and nights got long during this whole process.
All right, guys, what is up? Blair Rakowski, Lifted, the Garage Door Podcast, and I have the honor today of speaking with Tim Glenn from Glenn Brothers Garage Doors in Pawnee, Illinois. Tim, I had to do a double check to make sure that's not where Parks and Rec was supposed to be filmed.
Correct. I've heard that a million times, but not
I'm
here.
sure you have. I'm not the first person to say that.
Nice to know we're known for something.
So thanks for hopping on. Cool. So tell me a little bit about your company. So you've got a pretty sizable company, 11 employees, 7 trucks. Tell me, how's it going?
Good. We started off, just doing our thing and just keep growing and growing. And we have that need for more trucks and more people, but you're too scared to do it if we get slow, won't be able to feed everybody. So we just do our thing,
What's your origin story? Yeah, you always obviously didn't have a big company like that. How did you get started in the business?
Yeah, so I started right out of high school. Actually, I live in a town of 2,600 people. My father was a union pipe fitter, so I went kind of worked for his company for a little bit, the company he worked for, and when that project finished, I was without a job for a short period of time at 18 years old, and Pawnee being 2,500 people, there was a door company here, well known in the industry, Dewey Stewart at Midwest Garage Door. They approached me one night at the local gas station I was hanging out. They come up bleeding and dirty and said they needed help, and started there in 1995. And
so someone just walked up to you and said, "Hey, do you want a job in the garage?"
Yeah, well, I it's being a small town. I knew the owner of the company briefly, very, very briefly, but one of his only employee actually at the time was a good friend of mine, and he knew that I was in between jobs and looking for work. So they approached me as we were hanging out, probably playing hacky sack or something stupid, and said, "Hey, dude, we need help." I was like, "Sure, I need some work in between." It kind of just took off, and people that aren't in the industry have no idea. You wouldn't think that there would be that much work to do with garage doors. You just don't think it's that busy, but yeah, we got swamped, got busy, and it was time for me to move on, and made an offer that kept me. So I stayed, worked there for 12 years, and then stuff happens, and I decided to leave and start my own. And that was in 2006. And I look back now, that was 20 years ago, and I only worked there for 12 years, and it just doesn't feel like, it feels like I worked there longer and I've been doing this. So
can you even imagine today being able to walk up to some guys hanging out in the corner to find employees? I mean, it is so impossible to find people to do anything, let alone work at a garage door company.
Yeah. And back then it was hard. And I dealt with it myself, even as late as 2006. If you were worth anything, you weren't available. You just had a job, and it was hard to find people, period. Now there's an overflux of people, but nobody wants the job and nobody wants to work. So for the most part, it's tough. It's just a different world altogether.
When you started your own, when you made that decision, what was that like? You had 12 years experience. So at that point, you could do it all basically. So did you start with one truck? Did you have to get a loan? Did you just throw a sign on the door? What did you do?
It started off, anybody that's in the industry knows that the industry is close and tight knit. So when I decided to go out on my own, when I decided to leave, I had another job lined up, not in the industry, because you can't, in this industry, you can't I was fortunate enough that my former boss took me to I haven't missed an IDA show since 95, and I cherish that. And, he was taking me to all of them. So you can't go around looking to be on your own while still working for somebody else. That word gets out quick, and then that's just not a good person. That's not a good thing to do. So I had a job lined up outside of the industry. I kind of put my notice in, and then I changed directions and started making phone calls. And it was really tough because, the first couple of years were just tough. It was me and my brother, and myself and my brother, and we weren't actively going after contractors or business. That the place I left was like family to me. So I actively did not want to go after any of their work. So fortunately, we had some contractors that had left them already and went with, the chuck and a truck kind of guy. They were easy to pick up, and then we started advertising, and then that was in February of 2006. March of 2006, we had a big tornado that came through Springfield and did, a ton of damage. It was massive. And of course, that put us on the map with, knocking on doors, and it was a very big tornado, still talked about to this day in our area. So that really put us on the map with work. That got our stickers on doors and, service, and that just, all the big players in our area couldn't keep up. So it put us on the map. And then, it was just my brother and myself working out of I lived in the country, had a pole barn. The house I lived in had a daycare that had been added onto the side of it, so I was able to use that as my office. We didn't have a showroom, we didn't have walk-in. Google changed that for everybody, so I had to move out because I'd come home from a job and somebody'd be walking around my house looking for us, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But for the longest time, it was just my brother and myself. And
how'd you go from the two? Who was your next hire? So you got
next
you and your
hire
brother.
was
Who'd you hire next?
Next hire was just a really good friend of mine, Phil. He's now my head second salesman. Phil just came out of the field as a tech from 2000, and now he is now in sales. He needed a job. He needed a job at the time, and I said, dude, I need help bad. So we just took off, and he's my best friend, best man at my wedding.
That's cool.
Couldn't be any better. He's a guy that I trust. I could hand over the keys to anything, and I don't have to worry about him. He's always going to do what's best for the business. So he, as you get bigger and stuff, your mind starts wandering. I've been out of the field myself for enough years now that I don't know half of what's new. I'm having a hard time keeping up, but he doesn't. He knows everything and does everything. And we brought him on the ground level, and he would ride with my brother or myself. As the phone started ringing more, the office phone transferred to my cell phone. So we didn't have anybody in the office. It just, when the phone rang, it went to my cell phone. I had a notebook. I took notes. When I got back or during lunch or during breaks in between jobs, he would drive. I would call customers, and that worked well for a few years. And then it just, as you start growing, and we grew, after a couple of years of this, we hit the 2009 era where, the depression of our era, or whatever you want to call it, and we grew every year through that. And which was great. But, I learned, like anybody, I learned more from my mistakes than I learned from anything else. I found out real quick that I'm not the person that needs to be answering the phone. I'm a guy that barely graduated high school. I can put a door up. I can do all the stuff. I can talk to customers. I can be friends with everybody, but sitting down trying to get your taxes ready at the end of the week. And, nights got long. During this whole process, I, have 2 small children and a wife. So it got difficult. And I was failing customers, not getting back to people. And that just personally hurts. It gets you. It gets you because you could do 100 jobs for 100 people and it'd be great, and you do one that you upset somebody, and that's the only one you think about, and so that turned into
top of mind.
Yeah, then that turned into getting more, getting somebody in the office to answer phones, and that just changed our world. It changed our world to where we started getting employees and techs, and then the phone started ringing. Now I have more time to promote the business, help build the business, and it just keeps going and going and going. And then that removes me out of the field, and it but it's probably got off.
Can your business run without you right now? Like, can you take a
Yes,
vacation?
most
Can you go away
definitely.
for 2 weeks?
Most definitely, and I'm proud to say they probably do better off when I'm not there. I try not to come in. I don't get me wrong. They're overwhelmed. I come in and there's certain things that I do, with the business, but I want my business. I have rental properties. I have other stuff as well. So I'm trying to build my business as me being an owner, not somebody who runs it. I'm trying to get it to that point, and it's getting there slowly but surely. And I by no means want to disappear.
That's good. That's good advice. Great advice. When did you start? Was that something you actively tried doing? You're like, okay, I'm not going to be involved in daily operations. Was that something you started thinking about, or did that just kind of evolve?
It kind of evolved, and it really hasn't completely come through yet. It's just something being in the industry for 30 years, still to this day, you see new stuff. You see stuff that you haven't ever touched before, and you're like, how can that be possible? I've been doing this for 30 years, but you still run into stuff that's new and different. But it does get monotonous after a while, and I don't know. I'm a kind of a moving guy, and I have a problem sitting in the office. If I sit in the office with a task to do, I find myself after 2 hours, I need to get up and go do something, go down to the warehouse and check some stuff out, or I just can't sit and do paperwork. It's not what I'm good at. I'm 49 years old. I'll be 50 next month. And I think I finally learned how to spell correctly. So,
That's why we got the spell check and grammar.
yeah, my handwriting, it's just a mess. I feel like I'm more of a burden to my company than a help at this point. But yeah, no, I just want to be.
When you hired, sorry, when you hired someone for the phones, and where'd you get away from paper and pen and notebooks, and what software are you using? Are you using a CRM? Are you using Service Titan?
Just using QuickBooks for we're still old school enough. All of our paperwork is 3-part carbonless copy paperwork. So we write when the phone calls come in, we write the paperwork up. The next day it goes out with a tech, or our techs have paperwork or invoices. Still really old school with that, just because I'm not computer savvy. I'm not that great. My secretary is, but we just haven't got to that point yet. We're still paper everything, and then it enters into QuickBooks. And if somebody calls and needs a service call, we call our techs and say, we do have GPS and cameras on the truck, so we know locations. We're say, hey, you're near here. Go pick this call up, write it up, sell it, and then it comes back and goes into the system.
Trying to get away from being on? Are you trying to get away from being on paper? Is that something or you're like, it just works at work?
It works and it worked. It just works, but I'm not against it. If there's anything that's going to make our company more profitable and more efficient, that's fine. But I can't personally visualize how the system we are using now is any worse off than anything out there. So that teaching that old dog new tricks is kind of tough for me, but I'm not against anything. It's just finding the time to actually sit down and talk to somebody and understanding it and learning it. And it's just, we are completely overwhelmed all the time, if you know what I mean.
I mean, there is something to be said where I joke even with my team where I'm a big note taker. I mean, my desk, I always just have checklists and notes, and really all the electronic stuff does. I mean, it's super helpful, but all you're doing is just now inputting it digitally on your phone where you could have just typed it. You could have just wrote it on a piece of paper. So there is a little bit I get when you don't want to switch when stuff just works.
Yeah.
I mean, the carbon copy paper is very simple.
Yeah. It's working. It's always worked. Nobody has any. Our customers are fine with it. Everything's fine. We still email bills when we can. It's just working at the moment, and there hasn't been a big reason for us to say, hey, we need to change this. We're not in a huge market. That being said, it's there's still it doesn't mean stuff can't be changed.
I mean, you must even though you're in a small town, so you must cover a pretty big area to be running all these trucks and be in this business.
Yeah. So in Pawnee, we're 10 minutes south of Springfield, Illinois, the capital, 10 minutes, to the edge of town. And that keeps us busy. And there's, when you get in a big city like that, you have your surrounding towns that are, the people want their kids to go to school in a small town. So there's quite a few. I think Springfield's 150,000 people maybe, and all the surrounding communities are, there's a bunch of 10,000. But we're only an hour from St. Louis, and I've serviced the St. Louis market since we've started our business with track builders. We were doing a bunch of track builders down there with originally with Wayne Dalton, and then we moved with CHI into track building. And that's put our stickers, and we put stickers on everything, which I encourage everybody to do. And here we are 20 years later, people are calling us saying, hey, my spring broke or backed into my panel, your sticker's on the door. We get into the Metro East area of St. Louis and into St. Louis, which is massive. Our phone rings every day for that. So we're with the support of our manufacturers, they're wanting us to kind of open up shop down there. And, it's how it works. It's either us or we'll find somebody. And I'm like, well, let's try to make it work. We're just currently trying to set up a secondary shop in that market, in the Metro East St. Louis market, which is huge.
What kind of trucks are you guys running? You guys running pickups, vans? What do you, box trucks? A little bit of everything?
Both. We got some transit vans, cutaway vans with the utility beds on it. Our residential guys run just 1/2-ton pickup trucks, commercials, 1-ton dually service bed. But yeah, That's the majority of
How
it.
much of your business is commercial?
Probably 20%. Commercial and installation or service?
Both, just the whole commercial
Probably
side of it.
probably 30% as far as service and installs.
And what do you guys do to make the phone ring? So you're pretty successful. What are you guys doing? What keeps you busy?
Honestly, not a lot anymore. Just Facebook marketing, Facebook, social media advertising. We do just very little bit of print, on whatever phone books are left. We do just the basic, but we really don't advertise a lot anymore, except for in the outskirts
awesome.
cities. Yeah, in the outskirts cities, we have been, we use our co-op money to advertise, but we usually use our co-op money from our manufacturers to advertise in the outskirts of our area, just at the edges of our comfort zone. So we're trying to build our business out farther and
What kind
farther.
of ads are you? You doing radio? You doing TV? You're doing mailings, postcards? What do you do?
Done a little bit of it all. We just got done with a little postcard mailer deal. We did that. We're doing some radio in St. Louis. We're doing some billboard stuff over in a town about 30 miles east of us. Did some TV in Springfield. Just kind of bouncing around, trying it all.
How did the radio work for you?
Not as well as I'd hope. Radio in St. Louis is very
Okay.
expensive, and it's not working very well. But we're still in hopes.
Okay.
I mean, it's early on, so it's just hard to watch that money go out and nothing come in. So it makes you nervous. But I also understand it takes repetition. But we're still confident.
Yeah. But the billboards are expensive too. I mean, it's impressive you guys are doing billboards. Like those cost a lot of money.
Yeah, not nothing locally, but like I say, on our outskirts of town, we're kind of doing that stuff, trying to get people coming in and going out.
Do you think, like, when you guys are doing the billboards and radio, that really, for your area, builds solid brand awareness, that people are they've heard your name, they've seen your trucks, and that's who they're going to call? I mean, would you put value on it in that way, at least?
I do. You try to think like the normally what people would do. Normally anymore, I think people just, oh, my door's broke, get on Google or whatever. I'm not good with the AI stuff yet, but they just get on there, and whoever pops up first is usually who they call. We kind of ask some of our customers when they call, if we find out if we're the first person, the last person, or if they've got other quotes, and not always, but you kind of just curiosity. Sometimes they'll tell you, and a lot of people just kind of pop on Google and call the first person they can find. So we don't find a lot of.
That's a great question. I mean, that's a great question. I've actually not heard someone say that before. So not just asking, hey, how'd you found us? Asking, how many other people did you call? Are we the first one? That's really in. So when they're asking that question, do you find other guys not answering the phone or not getting back to people fast enough?
Yeah. And that was that. Like I said, once again, that was something I learned the hard way by me not being able to do it all. When I hired people in the office, that's the one thing I made sure we did was answer and get back as quick as we can, because I learned the hard way. We upset a lot of people by not doing that. Contractors will probably never get back again just because we didn't service them right in the onset on the beginning. So yeah, that's a big thing to me now. That's a big thing.
When you started adding more and more text, do you have like an in-house training program, an apprenticeship, or do you have like a plan that when you bring someone on, like to get them in a truck by themselves?
Nothing. Yes and no. It's not what it used to be. It used to be I would take the guys out and I would train them for several months, and then I would put them in a truck with another guy, and then that would turn into those guys would, let them do a door by themselves. And now that I'm out of the field, Phil was the guy. Now that Phil's out of the field, I have some other guys, but from what I've taught the first guy to what is going now, sometimes is not what I'd like to see. That's actually something we're working on to correct before the end of the year, because some of my guys they're doing a great job and they're doing their best, and they it's just not what I want to see. I want everybody doing it the same way. And we've had some issues with that, and they're honest issues that all reflect back on me not being in front of it. And
I mean,
working on it.
The market's kind of slow for a lot of guys right now, so it's awesome to hear that you guys are busy like that. What do you think, as far in being in the industry this long, what are some of the bigger changes that you just can't even believe anymore? And do you guys do a lot of Wi-Fi doors and integrated doors where it's on their phone and got the app?
Yeah, that's basically all we do now. LiftMaster just pretty much changed everything. We're LiftMaster, 100% LiftMaster. Kind of dabbled. I've walked, LiftMaster's had their ups and downs over the years, and I've jumped ship a few times and went to other manufacturers, and it's always bit me in the rear. I end up with, after 3 months of doing this opener, they all start going bad at the same time, and now I'm back to I always go back to LiftMaster. That being said, I have been doing a little bit of Genie, and I'm really impressed with Genie these days. Genie seems like they've really got their stuff together. I'm just scared.
What's changed for them? Everyone used to be like, I'm never installing a Genie. Like, so you're the second one to say that and having these conversations. Like, what changed for Genie?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And, I hate to say this out loud because I don't want it to bite me in the butt, but LiftMaster kind of has the attitude of their customer service isn't really what it used to be. They have that, we know we own the market, and you're just going to deal with it. That being said, they do take care of their warranty stuff, but LiftMaster seems to be a little different. In my opinion, they seem to be a little different than they were 10 years ago. And Genie is just, I think 15 years ago, Genie's product, there was issues. There were several issues, and I think that they've really sat down and got their stuff together, and they seem to be putting out a really solid product right now, and a really impressive product. And
are you doing any Chamberlain or anything? Are you coming across Chamberlain at all?
No, we do customer supplied stuff. If somebody buys one from a hardware store, but we're strictly LiftMaster and a little bit of Genie still. But
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Wi-Fi.
So
a lot of Wi-Fi.
Of the Genie and LiftMaster, who do you think has a better app for the homeowner?
I think LiftMaster does, and that's just because we're familiar with it. There are so different. So when you go out if you do 100 LiftMasters and one Genie, it's just like learning how to ride a bike again. It's a different world altogether, which they have to be, for patents and rights to stuff. But yeah, they're just, sometimes a Genie's a different world altogether. They have an Aladdin setup versus the MyQ, and yeah, it's just a different. But I do prefer LiftMaster, always have. But
a lot of guys I talk to, they don't want to mess with the app and the Wi-Fi, and I don't understand why, because that's what people want. What's the biggest problem for you guys installing them? Like, a lot of people, like with their router not covering the garage sometimes. Like, what kind of pitfalls are you running into with the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, the Wi-Fi, in commercial is our biggest problem. Everything's set up for Wi-Fi, but we'll go put a door and opener on a pole barn out in the middle of nowhere for a farmer. They don't have Wi-Fi. They're not going to have Wi-Fi out there. So that's a problem. Buildings with steel lining inside. We always have the reception issue. Other than that, it's just, and that stuff you get in front of on the sales end, and you let them know, hey, you could have a potential issue. Yeah, my guys are all pretty good about it, but I do understand what you're saying about guys don't want to mess with the Wi-Fi stuff. I'm sorry, but it's part of the world today. And if that's what your customer wants, then you're going to set it up for them. You give the customer what they want. If you sell them an opener with Wi-Fi, you're going to take a few minutes and show them how to download it. You're going to show them how to do it. It's just customer service.
Are you stocking motors on the truck and everything? So when you guys are sending the techs out, I mean, are they running with a couple motors on a truck, or you have a warehouse where you're, before they head out, they kind of know what they need?
Yeah. So we have a warehouse. We've outgrown it. We're working on another property right now, but our warehouse is stocked. We have stock doors. We're fortunate enough we can go to Service Spring in St. Louis or Action Industries and pick up openers at the drop of a hat. Or, we're mainly a CHI dealer. CHI is an hour and 10 minutes from us in Arthur, just east of us. So we pick up our doors weekly. I send a guy over, and we can pick up openers there. Oh, wow. So we'll keep 50 to 75 openers on hand. And when we go through them, we just go grab them. So, we keep everything here in the warehouse. Our service techs do keep 7 and 8 foot openers, chain and belt drives on their vans. Our installation crews just take what's scheduled for the day, and they have extra parts.
Are your service guys incentivized to, one, get more Google reviews, and also to sell additional product? Like when they get there and the motor's older, to just give them the option, not so much where, I know some guys are paying big commissions, but more from a customer service side of like, yeah, hey, your motor is X amount of years old. I'm seeing these issues. It's time to do this. I mean, what do you do to train the guys to spot those problems and upsell?
This is another one of these. We just had a group meeting a group meeting the other morning, and we get the by the end of the year, this has to be straightened out. We need to get this straightened out by the end of the year. Here's your list. Here's my list. My list is way higher than theirs, and that's one of the things on my list is I do not incentivize these guys to upsell, or I tell them to. And the mentality is, man, I got 7 service calls a day. I just need to get these done so I can be home at a decent time. But so we're replacing a broken spring. Well, yeah, we replaced the broken spring, but the rollers were shot. They could have used a second strut on the door. My guys aren't upselling at all, really, and it's something that hasn't been taught to them, and that's my fault. So that's something we're working on from now on too, because we can replace a spring on a door, and then 5 days later we get a call saying the door's making a horrible noise. We go back, well, the rollers are shot. So now we get to put rollers in at we charge them for rollers, but we can't. You eat the labor on that one. We eat the labor the second time.
How about Google reviews and customer feedback? Are you trying to get your techs to ask for reviews? I mean, it's so important today.
That's not something we're doing either, and that's something I'm working on now, is getting some kind of like a business card with a barcode on or something where they can scan, give us if give us a good review on Google or our website, whatever. So that's something have failed to provide also, and that's something I'm working on for the start of the next year.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, just from after all these years of being in the business, it is entirely worth $10, $15 for every time a tech can get a review where someone mentions their name. I mean,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, this day and age is almost a necessity.
Yeah. I agree. And I just, man, we get going with stuff and we're so busy. And like I say, I'm barely smart enough to tie my own shoes sometimes. So
you haven't missed an IDA show in how many years? 20 years? 25 years?
Oh no. Yeah. Since 95. So,
that's crazy. Dude, that is awesome.
So he would take us every year, just so, to learn, and we'd go through the classes. Dewey was instrumental in the IDEA accreditation stuff classes. I was one of the first ones to pass the train the trainer class. So he really was at the forefront of all the IDA accreditation stuff, which was awesome. I was a part of that. And we were a Wayne Dalton dealer at the time, and I was able to, Wayne Dalton back in that time had a quick install competition. Basically what you did was you videotaped yourself putting in an 8x7 door, and you mail the videotape off, and they would review it, and they would take the top 12 in the nation, and they'd fly you to wherever the IDA show was, and they'd supply you with tools, and you go head to head for like $10,000 or whatever, $7,500, I believe it changed. But I was able to qualify for that every year they had it, and it really was just exciting because when you put doors up every day for a living and that's all you do, it just gets so monotonous and boring. And then all of a sudden you have this event, that's okay. So now I'm driving down the road in between jobs with a handful of screws, like spinning them around in my hand as quick as I can, so I can like you're doing a NASCAR pit stop when you're putting the hinges on. And I was really blessed for him to let me go to those, for one, and to be able to compete in them. And never won it. Finished second like 8 times, I think. But I'll blame that on LiftMaster, because LiftMaster always had their hospitality party on Friday night, and then we had to compete Saturday morning, and I was just in no condition. But yeah, so that's. And I've met so many great people in the industry just listening, just going out there as an 18-year-old, 18 through probably 30 years old. I was just there for the party. But I was always there to listen. Guys like, Mike just passed away, that owns Service Spring. Paul McManus and John, going brain dead. Some of these guys introduced me to so many people, and, you'd go to breakfast with them in the morning, and they just, the insight these guys, the industry leader guys, had. It's just awesome. You hear all this stuff, and it's just, when you come back from the IDA show, you're pumped, and you have a new look on how to run your business, and that carries you through for a certain amount of time,
Do you bring your guys out now? Are you bringing some of your own guys out there?
Honestly, yes. I've offered it. A lot of my guys don't want to go. I got some guys that are just not interested in going. Some of them do. I pay for their flight and their hotel, and their meals. So there's really nothing. I try to go, we're in the Midwest, so Indianapolis, when they do it in Indy, it's like 4 hours away. Vegas is always an easy one to do, but been to all of them, but I try to get these guys to go. And now it's harder. I know they've switched it to where it's not on the weekends anymore. It's more through the week. I preferred it on the weekends. It's harder to get away from work, and it's harder to get my guys away from
Yeah.
work to send them. But it is what it is. But yeah, I would like them to go more. I pay for them to go. It's just great. It's a great experience. And now I say that, but in the last 10 or so years, there just hasn't been a whole lot of change in the industry. There has been, but there has been a ton. So it seems like, now they've kind of moved it to every other year. And it's, when you go every year, it's like, okay, I saw that last year, and that's being every other year, you see some new stuff now. And, I just don't ever plan on missing one. I have met so many people, and I'm happy to see them when I go. And you always learn something new about the industry, or you learn something. Some of our past presidents, current president, even our IDEA guys like Ted Billman, Randy Schmidt, these guys have been around for so long in the industry, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. And you ask them a question, they're more than happy to tell you, to talk to you. And it's just, I urge everybody that's new in the industry to do that, because you learn so much just by listening to these guys.
There's a lot more to it than people think. I'm always amazed that no matter what job you have, it can be very interesting. And they just, they think with the doors, like it's not just what you see, what's going on. There's way more to it behind there. With your company name. So you mentioned is your brother a partner with you?
Yeah. So my brother passed away in 2021 at the age of 40. So it's just me now. But that was an ordeal. But so little brother, yeah. So it's just me now.
Wow.
Me now, and a family that has no interest in.
I'm
sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Growing.
Yeah. Fortunately, I don't have anybody interested in my family.
Isn't that the craziest thing? I mean, I have these conversations with my own kids all the time, and they're always, we're always talking about this. And I was like, hey, just look around the neighborhood. I'm like, Mr. Nathan, who's an electrician down the street, he's got the biggest boat. He's got all the side by side. He's got all the toys. That should tell you something, right? And they know a lot of my buddies in the grow industry. I'm like, doesn't Mr. John have a nice truck? Like, look at 6 jet skis. What more do you want? Did you ever think about retiring then? So you're 50. Do you ever see the end of, got a number of good years done, sell it, sell the company, have someone take it over? What's the plan?
I really do. I really do. I feel like, my team, my people have built something great despite me being in their way, is how it feels sometimes, but we really got something great going on. And I've had some bigger companies come in and, want to put an offer together. Instead of starting their own business in this area, they just would rather buy somebody out and, with some cloud a little bit and go from there. And I've really tossed it around just because I have other irons in my fire, and I don't see myself leaving the industry ever, but I just, it does get just 30 years of doing the same thing is just something else, and
it's just work. I mean, even though we love it, it's just work. Work still stinks sometimes.
Yeah. And it's stressful. It's becoming stressful.
It's stressful. It is. Now, do you find now that it's even more stressful because customers are more demanding? They've got more people to choose from. It's a business sometimes harder to get, and they're more like a Karen or just freaking out all the time. You ever see that?
Not really. I mean, we do have, that hasn't changed any more so than it has now. During COVID, we did have the occasional, people that thought we were just sitting by the phone begging for business, and they'd want a great deal because they chose us. And, you're like, but for the most part, everybody's just nothing's changed from that. Your customers, your contractors and stuff like that, the price increases have been, the hardest thing for that.
Yeah, it's nuts. What kind of advice? So a lot of guys that I talk to and who watch this are working for someone thinking about starting their own company and wanting to go out on their own. I mean, with all your experience and someone who did it, what would you tell someone in that position who wants to start a garage door company?
First thing you got to do is make sure you have a manufacturer that can back you. There's, a lot of these manufacturers are swallowed up by other companies. And, if you want to have a door dealership, you're going to have to buy from another door dealer to put doors in, and that cuts into your profit, or buy from a distribution center that's an hour away, whatever. It's just, you need to find good backing first. And then, yeah, it's a different world from when I started to now. I mean, now we rely a lot on reviews, customer, hey, my buddy, you put a door in for my buddy. So if I couldn't even begin to think of starting new, how to advertise. I mean, social media is probably obviously the big thing, but AI and but yeah, it's just I joke around. I tell my
How much do you think
guys
you have to spend today? Start. Yeah,
to start.
how much you think you'd have to spend today to start? Like, because that was a question I got the other day. They're like, I've seen a couple. I'm looking at these guys. I have a friend that works for a precision guy, and he's like, man, where do I need to start?
Yeah, well, that all depends on the market. If you're in a small town, it's one thing. If you're in a major city, it's probably triple that. But it's just a matter of, if it's just you yourself, maybe another employee, I don't know, maybe 10,000 a year in the right areas. And I don't know what those right areas are, to be honest with you. But yeah, it depends on the market.
Could someone start just doing repairs, like without a door relationship, for the most part, just coming out, got the supply house? And is that a good way for some guys going out
Most
there and
definitely.
start really just
Most
focusing on-
definitely. Yeah, most definitely. That's the way that's the best way to do it is service repair. And then that, something, then you show up and the door's trashed, and then you gotta find a door. But yeah, service is where the money's always at. Service is your biggest thing. But if you do that right, you don't come back a whole lot. So that's another issue in itself. So it's really your market.
Are you trying to grow the commercial side? Do you guys doing dock levelers and everything too?
Yeah, so we do some dock levelers. We don't promote it. We don't promote it at all because we're just not equipped for it. Done them before, but I got to get the welder out. I don't have a truck set up for that. We have some guys that we sub out for that stuff. Even our rolling steel, we'll do some small rolling, but I have another door dealer that buys to go back what I'm saying about between my competition around here and myself, we've swallowed up the major competitors. So there's some local guys around here that buy off of us, and we take care of them very well, but they want to be their own dealers and stand on their own. Well, there's no door suppliers left to buy from, so that if they want to be successful, they're buying doors from us, or they're buying them from a lumberyard. And, the lumberyard doors just it's not the same product. So one of our guys.
Do you get along with your competitors? Or do you get along with the local competitors? I mean, we're in a funny business. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Like, is it pretty tight in the area where you are?
Yes and no. I mean, I get our main competitor. Like I say, we're in a town of 2,500, so we live together. Our kids go to school together. I'd like to say we do. Unfortunately, I left them after 12 years and then became their competition. I know they don't. That's a sore taste in their mouth, and I understand that completely. Like I say, they were like family to me when I did that, and I felt like I had to. So we talk, and that's a start. And the other ones, I talk to them. We see each other. We, how you doing? You busy? But we don't constantly run into each other. But I don't think we have any problems across.
That's good. We kind of wrap up here a little bit. What's the biggest thing that you're excited about for garage doors right now? I know you're a little tired of it too at the same time, but what are you excited about for the industry right now?
That's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer for that one. I'm just excited I'm excited that prices haven't been going back up. They're kind of staying. I'm kind of excited about. I guess that's the biggest thing is prices. Prices are holding steady. So
stable. All right. Tim, I appreciate the time you spent with us today. This was very insightful and really just so awesome. I mean, you are what so many guys are striving for, going from working from someone else to, having a fleet of 7 trucks and employees. So that's very cool. Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you. Pleasure meeting you.
Awesome.